حسين الغريب الغريب الحسين شهيد الشهيد الشهيد الحسين.
اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين. الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين. إياك نعبد إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين. اهدنا الصراط المستقيم. إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين. اهدنا الصراط المستقيم. صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين. صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين. صدق الله العلي العظيم. صلوات على محمد وآل محمد.
إذا شئت النجاة فزر حسينا لكي تلقى الإله قرير عيني. فإن النار ليست تمس جسما عليه غبار زوار الحسين. أزور سيدي ومولاي ومعتمدي ورجاي في آخرتي ودنياي. السلام عليك يا أبا عبد الله. السلام عليك يا ابن رسول الله. السلام عليك يا ابن أمير المؤمنين وابن سيد الوصيين. السلام عليك يا ابن فاطمة سيدة نساء العالمين. السلام عليك يا ثار الله وابن ثاره والوتر الموتون. السلام عليك وعلى الأرواح التي حلت بفنائك. عليكم مني جميعا سلام الله أبدا ما بقيت وبقي الليل والنهار. يا أبا عبد الله، لقد عظمت الرزية وجلت وعظمت المصيبة بك علينا وعلى جميع أهل الإسلام، وجلت وعظمت مصيبتك في السماوات على جميع أهل السماوات. فلعن الله أمة أسست أساس الظلم والجور عليكم أهل البيت، ولعن الله أمة دفعتكم عن مقامكم وأزالتكم عن مراتبكم التي رتبكم الله فيها، ولعن الله أمة قتلتكم، ولعن الله الممهدين لهم بالتمكين من قتالكم. برئت إلى الله وإليكم منهم ومن أشياعهم وأتباعهم وأوليائهم. يا أبا عبد الله، إني سلم لمن سالمكم وحرب لمن حاربكم إلى يوم القيامة. ولعن الله آل زياد وآل مروان، ولعن الله بني أمية قاطبا، ولعن الله ابن مرجانا، ولعن الله عمر بن سعد، ولعن الله الشمراء، ولعن الله أمة أسرجت وألجمت وتنقبت لقتالك. بأبي أنت وأمي، لقد عظم مصابي بك، فأسأل الله الذي أكرم مقامك وأكرمني بك أن يرزقني طلب ثارك مع إمام منصور من أهل بيت محمد صلى الله عليه وآله. اللهم اجعلني عندك وجيها بالحسين في الدنيا والآخرة. يا أبا عبد الله، إني أتقرب إلى الله وإلى رسوله وإلى أمير المؤمنين وإلى فاطمة وإلى الحسن وإليك بموالاتك وبالبراءة ممن قاتلك ونصب لك الحرب، وبالبراءة ممن أسس أساس الظلم والجور عليكم، وأبرأ إلى الله وإلى رسوله ممن أسس أساس ذلك وبنى عليه بنيانه وجرى في ظلمه وجوره عليكم وعلى أشياءكم. برئت إلى الله وإليكم منهم، وأتقرب إلى الله ثم إليكم بموالاتكم وموالاة وليكم، وبالبراءة من أعدائكم والناصبين لكم الحرب، وبالبراءة من أشياعهم وأتباعهم. إني سلم لمن سالمكم وحرب لمن حاربكم، وولي لمن والاكم، وعدو لمن عاداكم. فأسأل الله الذي أكرمني بمعرفتكم ومعرفة أوليائكم ورزقني البراءة من أعدائكم أن يجعلني معكم في الدنيا والآخرة، وأن يثبت لي عندكم قدم صدق في الدنيا والآخرة، وأسأله أن يبلغني المقام المحمود لكم عند الله، وأن يرزقني طلب ثاركم مع إمام هدى ناطق ظاهر ناطق بالحق منكم. وأسأل الله بحقكم وبالشأن الذي لكم عنده أن يعطيني بمصابي بكم أفضل ما يعطي مصابا بمصيبته، مصيبة ما أعظمها وأعظم رزيتها في الإسلام وفي جميع السماوات والأرض. اللهم اجعلني في مقامي هذا ممن تناله منك صلوات ورحمة ومغفرة. اللهم اجعل محياي محيا محمد وآل محمد، ومماتي ممات محمد وآل محمد. اللهم إن هذا يوم تبركت به بنو أمية وابن آكلة الأكباد، اللعين ابن اللعين، على لسانك ولسان نبيك صلى الله عليه وآله في كل موطن وموقف وقف فيه محمد نبيك صلى الله عليه وآله. اللهم لعن أبا سفيان ومعاوية ويزيد بن معاوية، عليهم منك اللعنة أبد الآبدين. وهذا يوم فرحت به آل زياد وآل مروان بقتلهم الحسين صلوات الله عليه. اللهم فضاعف عليهم اللعن منك والعذاب الأليم. اللهم إني أتقرب إليك في هذا اليوم وفي موقفي هذا وأيام حياتي بالبراءة منهم واللعنة عليهم وبالموالاة لنبيك وآل نبيك عليه وعليهم وآله وسلم. اللهم لعن أول ظالم ظلم حق محمد وآل محمد وآخر تابع له على ذلك. اللهم لعن العصابة التي جاهدت الحسين وشايعت وبايعت وتابعت على قتله. اللهم لعنهم جميعا. السلام عليك يا أبا عبد الله وعلى الأرواح التي حلت بفنائك. عليك مني سلام الله أبدا ما بقيت وبقي الليل والنهار، ولا جعله الله آخر العهد مني لزيارتكم. السلام على الحسين وعلى علي بن الحسين وعلى أولاد الحسين وعلى أصحاب الحسين. اللهم خص أنت أول ظالم باللعن مني، وابدأ به أولا، ثم لعن الثانية والثالثة والرابع. اللهم لعن يزيد خامسا، ولعن عبيد الله بن زياد وابن مرجان وعمر بن سعد وشمران وآل أبي سفيان وآل زياد وآل مروان إلى يوم القيامة. اللهم لك الحمد حمد الشاكرين. اللهم لك الحمد حمد الشاكرين، لك على مصابهم. الحمد لله على عظيم رزيتي. اللهم ارزقني شفاعة الحسين يوم الورود، وثبت لي قدم صدق عندك مع الحسين وأصحاب الحسين الذين بذلوا مهجهم دون الحسين عليه السلام، برحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين. وصل اللهم على سيدنا محمد وآله الطاهرين لاستجابة الدعاء وقبول الأعمال. نهدي ثواب المباركة الفاتحة مع الصلاة على محمد وآل محمد.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. Assalamu alaikum jami'an wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. The echo that you can hear this evening is not because we have it on the sound system, it's because unfortunately the center is once again devoid of your wonderful presence as we have the luck and the opportunity to have you hosted here virtually. And as always, it is our pleasure, our privilege, and our honor to do that. Assalamu ala al-Husayn wa ala Ali ibn al-Husayn wa ala awlad al-Husayn wa ala ashab al-Husayn. Peace be upon you, O Hussein, and Ali, the son of Hussein, and the family of Hussein, and the companions of Hussein. Thank you very much for joining us this evening. It's great to see you once again, and inshallah this evening we have another fantastic discussion with our dear friend and brother and scholar, His Eminence Sheikh Mohammed Mehdi, who tonight we'll be discussing with is "I saw nothing but beauty," and inshallah we'll be deconstructing that statement and take the opportunity to give it more context as well, and inshallah we'll have an opportunity to improve our understanding collectively of what that statement means and how it should be understood. Sheikh, assalamu alaikum.
Alaikum assalam.
As always, it is a pleasure to have you here. If you wouldn't mind, Sheikh, just use that slider to turn on the microphone for me.
It's on, I think,
Yep.
but it's just not up there.
There we go. Okay, thank you. I have thumbs up from our wonderful stage manager slash director slash producer slash sound slash video slash camera. Thank you very much. Excellent. So tonight, if anything goes wrong, it's not my fault. It's behind the cameras over there.
Yes.
Sheikh, let's start with that statement. I saw nothing but beauty. And who made that statement?
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بفضل الله بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على محمد وآله الطيبين الطاهرين.
Allahumma salli ala Muhammad.
This statement that we hear very often, and it's repeated by many people so often, is a statement that was made by Sayyida Zainab alayha salam in Kufa, in the court of Ubaydullah ibn Marjana ibn Ziyad. And during that time, Ubaydullah had asked her that, how do you perceive what Allah has done to you? And Sayyida Zainab was the one that responded, ما رأيت إلا جميلة. I did not see but beauty. That's how the statement was made.
So the statement was made by Sayyida Zainab Salamullah alayhi, who is the sister of Imam Hussein alayhi salam and Abu al-Fadl and so on. And it was made in Sham, yes?
No, in Kufa.
In Kufa. Okay, so the statement was made in Kufa. And so we've answered the first question that I had for you already, which was who made the statement? And when the response was, I saw nothing but beauty, Sayyida Zainab said, I saw nothing but beauty. So we'll say the Zainab. When we talk about beauty itself, okay, let me rewind a bit. When Sayyida Zainab says, I saw, what did she see? What was she referring to in that, of what she saw? Is it a very small portion or a microcosm of what she witnessed most recently in the lead up to that appearance in the court? Or was it something else?
Well, firstly, you need to remember that when Ubaydullah was answering the questions, or asking the questions or making the statements, he was basing these statements that he was making on his line of thought. As you'll find today, where people build a narrative and they ask you questions based on that narrative. You know, like for example, I was once watching a 60 Minutes report where the reporter said to a young Palestinian boy, are you willing to go onto a bus and blow yourself up with people? Like as if he's talking to a robot. And the young boy was good in answering him by saying that that's not we're not monsters like you depict us. We want to live, we want to get married, we want to have children. See, when they were asking the questions, you need to remember that Imam Hussein alayhi salam was perceived as an enemy of the state. It's not like, see, the enemies of God, they don't come and say, we hate God, we oppose God. They come out under the guise of religion. That's why whenever even like someone wants to deviate people, they do it in the name of Islam. They don't come up as, because you get a lot of these modern day speakers that are coming up now and with deviated thoughts and they don't come in the garb of Islam to spread them. They don't go in their own filth and spread these thoughts.
They want to be presentable. They want to be acceptable.
They want to be acceptable. So Ubaydullah bin Ziyad, who was considered himself, I'm a legitimate governor, because that had been the case. There had been other governors like him. And the Khalif Yazid was considered to be the legitimate Amir al-Mu'mineen Khalif, as a title they had given themselves, as those before him, except this one was a bit more naked. You know, where the rest, they were more covered and concealed in what they did. So he starts off by saying, Alhamdulillah alladhi nasarana, that Allah has given us, aided us. وَقَتَلَ الْكَذَّابِ ibn al-Kadhab. He killed the liar, the son of a liar. So Imam Hussein, this is how he spoke at the very beginning. And this is where Abdullah ibn Afif al-Azdi was killed. He was the first martyr after Karbala because he stood against him in making this statement. So when the prisoners were brought before Ubaydullah ibn Ziyad, he said to her, tell me, how do you perceive what Allah has done with you? Now his question was about the massacre in Karbala.
Yes.
That it was God that killed you.
Yes.
And then her response was based on what Allah has done for us.
Yes.
In general. Everything that He has given us. He's given us eyes. He's given us ears, a mouth, a nose, the ability to exist, the ability to breathe, the ability to subsist, the ability to be sustained, to have a chance to gain eternal life in paradise. Is given and given and given. Allah doesn't take from us. He just gives. So based on this, she said, Ma ra'aytu min Allah, from Allah. This is mahdhuf, this is missing. Ma ra'aytu, that from Allah, illa jamila. I only saw beauty from Allah. it wasn't in regard to what Ubaydullah ibn Ziyad was asking.
So she's completely reframed the entire discussion.
That's right.
With the answer that she's given, and
Yeah.
reframed it from what was being referred to as the massacre and the tragedy in Karbala, and broaden that so significantly that there is nothing but beauty from Allah that I've witnessed.
That's right. So there is nothing but beauty in the case from Allah. Not about the massacre that has taken place. This is where she's making that clear, that this is probably one of the, it is the ugliest act that's ever been done in human history.
Yeah.
Nothing possibly worse than that act.
So if we go from there to, let's talk about the beauty and contextualize the statement a little bit more. And let's talk about the beauty of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and how Sayyidah Zainab has perceived that.
All right. Well, firstly, when we talk about, as I was actually coming in to the center, I was listening to Dua al-Baha. And in Dua al-Baha, Allah, He says, Allahumma inni as'aluka bi jamalika. Bi baha'ika, and then it says Jamal. Talks about the beauty of God.
Yep.
And in a lot of statements, we have hadith, for example, where this one, an Amir al-Mu'mineen, he says, Inna Allah jamilun yuhibbul jamal wa yuhibbu an yara athar ni'mati ala abdih. So that Allah is beautiful, He loves beauty, and He loves to see the evidence of the beauty, the evidence of His blessings on His servants. The term beauty, to consider, for example, someone to be beautiful, generally the way we look at it is a personal and a personality and a physical attractiveness. And the standards of beauty, or what the word beautiful is, have changed over time. They've never, they're based on the changing
it's
cultural
continually
values.
evolving,
The changing
what,
cultural values.
what society determines as beautiful
And
today.
you can see this in artworks. I was when I was in school, we had visual arts as an elective, and when we used to look at like paintings by Gustav, I think it was Gustav Goya, I think it was. It was Gustav Goya, I think his first surname was Goya, obviously.
Yeah.
And he was around the painter at the time of the Spanish Inquisition. And all the women that he had in his paintings were all very, like you would say, very full-bodied.
Yeah.
And I'm not talking about buxom, even more. They were very chubby.
Yeah.
And that was a symbol of beauty.
Yeah.
Unlike today, you have to weigh like 35 kilos for someone to say you're beautiful.
Well, yeah.
It's changed.
Back then, it was a matter of a demonstration of wealth and prosperity, that you could carry that weight because you could afford it.
Because you could afford to be like that. So then we look at the concept of beauty. Generally, they say beauty is in the eyes of the beholder. So we don't know what it is that's considered to be beautiful by the standards that people carry. But what is it that is actually beautiful? What is it that we consider to be beautiful? If God is beautiful, so if God is beautiful, then surely beauty is different to the contorted values that we have as human beings. It's not what we think it is.
I don't think we can compare what we think is beautiful and a reflection of, like you said, a reflection of what is beautiful today was not beautiful in a previous age, or will not be in an age to come. And then to compare that to what the beauty that God tells us is the beauty from His perspective. So it is in the eye of the beholder, and there's usually, often there will be a mismatch always, because we don't have that status, we don't have that capability, a mismatch between what we think is beautiful and what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us is beautiful.
Well, the thing is, when we perceive something in in physical beauty, when I mentioned it's in the eye of the beholder, if you look at what people look for today, they look actually, because I used to sit there and think, people that get fillers in their face and in their bodies. Is there people that actually like this? And I found out, there are people that perceive this to be a form of attractiveness. They actually enjoy fake.
Yeah.
They like fake. They like dermal piercings. They like the people actually like women with tattoos.
They've taken their body, which they have no control over.
Yeah.
No, I have this body, you have that body. I had no say in how I would genetically turn out. Maybe I can grow my beard, maybe I can cut it short, things like that. Yeah, of course I've got to say. But then they've modified it. They've modded it. They've put on, I know you like gaming, Sheikh, so they put on their skins and they've made it theirs.
Look, that's right. And we're not saying this is forbidden, but what I'm saying, this goes down to show you that everyone has a different perception on what beauty is. However, this isn't the beauty we're talking about.
Yeah.
See, also because God is not material.
Yep.
God is not tangible.
Yep.
God is not a thing. Allah Azza wa Jalla is beyond all this. So what is it that when we say Allah is beautiful, we're talking it's about a way of dealing.
Yeah.
Allah Azza wa Jalla. Could you imagine when we do something, and this is what we're talking about, what is beautiful. When someone does something and it's not for them, it's for you. Allah Azza wa Jal created us out of His mercy, out of His benevolence. There's nothing that He gains from us whatsoever. Allah is, I've mentioned this before, Allah is not a person with an AB negative blood type that's waiting to receive a liver, and you're the one that's there with that same blood type, and you're there to give him that liver. Allah is not someone waiting for your prayers. He's not waiting for your sadaqah. He's not waiting for your hajj. It's all for you. It's all for you. Improves you as a person.
Exactly. I think that's a really good point, Sheikh, that even if when you pray, that benefit of the prayer, it comes back to you. The benefit of the sadaqah comes back to you. The benefit of that good deed comes back to you. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is, in His infinite mercy and wisdom, everything that you do is a benefit. So everything good the creation does only comes back to benefit the creation.
Only the creation.
And only the creation.
There's
It doesn't make God any bigger or smaller or higher or lower.
Benefits. Even if you take a look, when Imam al-Mehdi says in Dua al-Iftitah, he says, الَّذِي لَا تَنْقِصُ خَزَائِنُهُ, that Allah's treasury doesn't become any less when He gives. وَلَا تُزِيدُهُ كَثْرَةُ الْعَطَاءِ, nor does He increase when He gives. So when we give in the way of God, we increase our wealth. How tenfold, it will come back to us. Yeah. And then it says, إِلَّا جُودًا وَكَرَمًا. Allah is only generous. Allah is only kind. And that's all it is about. His generosity and His kindness, His benevolence. He's a benign God. And that's all that it is. It's nothing more. Now, Allah gives us a glimpse of this. How? He shows us this nature of Ahlul Bayt alayhim salam. This giving nature. He shows you many examples. Shows you the night that they fasted. 3 nights they fasted and they gave. Why do we think we keep bringing up this story? So we let people understand if God has chosen a group of people above all people, you look at their characteristics, they're godly. They give, they don't want anything in return. Everything they do, إنما نطعمكم لوجه الله لا نريد منكم جزاء ولا شكورا. We give you for Allah. We do not want from you any reward. We do not want thanks from you. This is what we do. We do everything solely for God. And this is the giving nature of Ahlul Bayt. This is when you look at I mentioned to you before we discussed the story of there's a latmiyya that Mehdi Rasuli reads. Yeah. And he talks about Fatima al-Zahra alayhi salam and how generous she is, that Imam Hassan alayhi salam, when he sees it, it's from a story, where he sees her supplicating in the morning and she's doing supplication for her neighbors. And he says, "Oh mother, you've done supplication for all our neighbors, what about us?" And then she says, "Ya bunay ajar thumma dar," the neighbor, then the home. Yeah, then in this Latmiya, what he's saying, the neighbors did not value this. Hala, did Fatima al-Zahra know that when she was attacked, her neighbors would not stand with her? Of course, Allah would let them know. They knew of these things. But this didn't stop them doing what was right.
I think that's a very big lesson and a very big point that you've raised there, is that regardless, despite the consequence or the hardship, potential hardship that one could face from doing the right thing, from standing up for another's rights or haq or whatever it might be, and remaining on that steadfast on that path, to do it anyway.
That's right. You might not get recognition from anybody. See, there are people that have lived on this earth that did things that no one knows. You hear a lot of good stories, but there are people that you will not know. When you read Surah Al-Waqi'ah, for example, it says, إِذَا وَقَعَتِ الْوَاقِعَةِ, talks about the day of judgment. لَيْسَ لِوَقَعَتِهَا كَاذِبَةٌ. That's not something you can reject or deny. And then the verse says, خَافِضَةٌ رَافِعَةٌ. So, خَافِضَةٌ meaning what? خَافِضَةٌ meaning that there are people that are going to أخفض, which means fall, and there are people that are going to be elevated, which means they'll rise. Meaning what? There are people in this world that you would have seen. There are people in this world that you would have seen that were good and that were righteous. This guy's a good bloke, but you'll find on the day of judgment, our technician finally woke up, you'll find on the day of judgment, stop messaging whoever you're messaging and pay attention. So there was, you'll find on the day of judgment, there are people that are righteous, okay? It better be your wife or you're in trouble when you get back home. So anyway, khafidatun, there are people that you see they're righteous and they'll fall. And there are people that will be, that you didn't see, you never heard of them.
They'll be elevated.
And they'll be elevated. Who's this person?
Yeah.
So there are people that do and they don't want it to be registered. They don't want to build a mosque and write their name on it, or a school and write their name on it. They give in silence, the quiet achievers in this world. Allah Azza wa Jal has a place of Ahlul Bayt salawatullahi salamu alayhim. Not only did Allah elevate them in the hearts. Like even if you take, look, one point, I was discussing this on the weekend with my brother. And he said that when Allah, you know when they say someone, like for example, when Hur was martyred, and Imam Hussein says your mother named you a good name, the right name, Hur, because you were free. Yes. You made the right choice. You want to know perfect naming? The name of Rasulullah Muhammad. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. The one who is praised. Who is more praised than Muhammad in the world today? Who?
Nobody.
You got 2 billion people that say salawat ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. In their prayers, between Shia and Sunnah. Yeah. Also, Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. In their prayer, he's the one that is praised.
Yeah.
His name was specific. Allah chose them to be praised. And no matter what anyone tries to shun them or bring them down, the Ahlul Bayt alayhim salam, they would always do good. You know, the turning the other cheek?
Yep.
That's what they would do.
Yep.
They would always move forward. They will always proceed. This is the beauty we're talking about. Beauty is the way you act. It's not the way... Taban, action does talk about representation, but doesn't talk about... Like, you know, people might say, all right, beauty is blue-eyed, blonde hair. Because we have this perception the white man is always superior.
Yeah,
We've always had
the Western perception of what Jesus looked like. Yeah.
I always... even if you look, you know, when we are so obsessed with the white man that the Iraqi, remember I said the Iraqi president even took Macron into the shrine of Imam al-Qasim. He desecrated the shrine with someone as impure as Macron because he forgot, he was so, I don't know if he's into a white man, but he just took him into there. He took him into the shrine because he was so happy to see a white blonde guy. Bring him into the shrine. This is a lot of people's perception of what beauty is.
Well, it could also be a mechanism to bring to bring the two countries and the two different ideologies closer.
It's good when the person is someone within reason. Like if I'm dealing with someone that isn't, and look, if it was any other European leader, I would accept it. Not someone that is an outward enemy of Islam. That he's basically declared war on Islam in the way that he treats Muslims in his country. If you said it was the Chancellor of Germany, or even Boris Johnson, I would have half accepted it.
Well, he has Turkish and Muslim heritage as well, going back a few generations, but
his
still.
grandfather was a Hafiz or something like that.
Yeah.
But I'm saying with the beauty we're talking about is not about looks. Appearance does matter, because we have they asked Rasulullah about how you should present yourself. It says by combing your hair, by putting. Rasulullah would spend more money on perfume than he would spend on food.
Wow. Okay, I didn't know that.
Yeah, that's how important it is to smell. You'd actually know where the Prophet was from the smell. I'm not talking. Sometimes you smell cheap perfume and it's disgusting. You know, some people smell like the air freshener used in the toilet. They use the cheapest stuff they can, and they irritate. But some scents are so beautiful, you can't get enough of them.
Yeah, true.
Yeah.
But
So
sorry,
he would use perfume. Yeah. Another thing he would talk about is having a clean home. Everything's got to do with presentation. For example, I come to pray in the mosque. Don't eat garlic and onions before you come in the mosque. In case you do one of these burps and everyone around you is going to be uncomfortable about it. It's about presentation. Everyone can do that. Yep.
There are a lot of little etiquettes and things in Islam that we don't really touch on, we don't really discuss, and maybe that's something that we can look at for another session. I want to rewind a bit and bring you back to a statement that you made about giving sadaqah and charity and whatnot, and that is that you said there are those people who want to do it without being known to do it. Now, there's also narrations that encourage people to openly give charity as well.
The verse in the Quran.
Can you talk about that for a second?
The verse in the Quran says those that give, and this verse, like every other verse about Ali ibn Abi Talib alayhi salam, they give sirran wa alaniya, that they give in secret, they give in the open, they give in the day, and they give in the night. What's the point of giving in secret? In secret, I'm doing it obviously so it can be purely for God. In the open is to encourage others to give. So it's good to give in the open with that intention. That I'm going to give so everyone else can give. That's a very good thing to do that. And give a big sum to show people, yes, give. To let them know this is an important cause, give. Or this is a charity, give. And don't be ashamed to give. This is important. That I
think you're getting a call there, Sheikh.
That I shouldn't be, I'm really sorry. So I was sitting on that. I shouldn't be ashamed to give in any way. I should always be giving and be of a generous nature. And when people see, they go, oh, Haj Ali's giving, I should give too. You know, so it's good to give in the open. It's good to let people see you giving sadaqah and be someone that is charitable.
Ahsan, thank you, Sheikh. I reminded everybody who's watching and obviously is unfortunately not with us here in person, is that we welcome any of your questions and comments. Inshallah, you can reach us on Facebook, on the Facebook chat, on the YouTube chat as well. And if you have the IHIC mobile number, you can also send your questions there. If you prefer some anonymity, you can also DM us on Facebook too, so don't be afraid to do that. We have our wonderful stage production director, manager, and helper working in the background to manage all of this stuff. But if there's anything that we've missed with the production tonight, please forgive us in advance.
Actually, it's easy to do. For example, you're at an event. You have the opportunity there to let everyone know you're giving. You want to give in secret, there's places you can put money and no one's going to see you. So you have the opportunity. I don't need to do it in secret when I'm in a public place. It's in a public place, yes, I'm going to give. But then I have the money that I give in secret. And don't think the money you give in the open's any less. If your intention is pure, it's got to do with purity. Like we have a hadith that says, and obviously I'm going to paraphrase, where the Prophet ﷺ says, 2 rakat given in my mosque here are equal to 10,000 rakat. 2 rakat given in Masjid al-Haram are 100,000 rakat. Wow. Then he says 2 rakat that are prayed at home with ikhlas, with devotion, are better. Now, he's not saying it's better to pray at home than Masjid al-Haram.
No, he's not saying that.
If you pray 2 rakat at Masjid al-Haram with devotion, that's the best.
Yeah.
But he's saying if it's with devotion, with ikhlas, that I am mukhlis, I'm pure, with intent to God, that's the best time. When I do something with utmost purity, that's the best. And that's why some give, just like Habil and Qabil gave, but Allah only accepts from the pure.
Yeah.
Those that have pure intentions when they give. They have pure thoughts when they're doing something. You know, sometimes I do something to gain recognition. Sometimes I do something to gain favor from somebody, to get a position with somebody. You could tell, for example, somebody, oh, you know, this man, he's a wealthy man, and say a few good things about him. The person could be a pauper, wouldn't have a cent to his name.
Yeah.
And then everyone hearing this will start to become good to this person. To gain favor, to get near.
Yeah, of course.
Just based on that.
It's human nature.
It's human nature. Now, when you're doing something with no ulterior motive, purely lillah azza wa jal. This is what we're saying, because this is the jamal we're talking about. The beauty is Allah does things with no ulterior motives. It's for you. And that's why heaven is never earned. It's given.
It's awarded.
Ata and hisab. It's an award.
Yeah.
You can't earn it.
Yep.
Allah has always been generous in nature.
Yeah.
I've given you this, I'm giving you that. Did you earn the eyes I gave you? No. Did you earn the sustenance I gave you? No. Did you earn? No. See this paradise, you haven't earned it either. This is what it is. It's about being given. Now there's people that don't want. They tell you, I don't want from God. Have you ever seen those people that come from rich families and they want to try and make it themselves? If my dad's rich, I'll live off him. Are you serious? You know? He says, I want to make it myself. I want to move on myself. They have this thing. So when you say God gave you, he says, no, God didn't give me. It was from my hard work.
Yeah.
I earned this money.
Yep.
Yeah, that's the arrogance.
But it's there are many famous people who've been through this path that you've mentioned. I even though my parents are very wealthy, etc., I want to do it on my own. But if it wasn't for your parents' wealth to begin with, how would those doors open for you?
Well,
if you'd have to change your name, you'd have to change everything and be a nobody and then try to make it. That's making it without your parents' assistance.
Well,
There's a joke, Sheikh, and I'll really cut it down for the sake of brevity and to keep it on topic, where without seeming blasphemous, and forgive me in advance, a scientist challenges God that, you know, you've created this human being, I can create it better. So you say, okay, create your being. So the scientist picks up the dirt. He goes, get your own dirt first.
Yeah.
Right? If you want to make it from nothing, then start with nothing.
Start with nothing. There's an actual hadith where a man says to Imam Hussein, I want to sin.
Yeah.
And the Imam says to him, find another world that's not owned by God. He says, I'll let you sin. Find another world that's not owned by God and sin. Find something that wasn't created by God and sin. Find a place where God cannot see you and sin. He gives him all these conditions because you can't.
Yeah.
At the end of the day is you are stuck where you are.
Yeah.
It's like saying, it's like, you know, the people that live in Australia, the sovereign citizens. I don't belong. And no one really accepts being a sovereign citizen. You live here.
Yep.
You abide by laws. But this is a country, a government that was placed that can be overthrown. One day another government can come and take over.
Yep.
Whereas in the case of God's sovereignty, it's always above all. Allah, Malik al-Muluk. He's the King of Kings. Rabbul Arbab. He is the Lord of Lords. Ilahul Aliha. He is the God of gods. There's nothing above God. So in the end of the day, you're always within the realm of God. Now, the thing is, God's nature is beauty.
Yes.
This is what Sayyida Zainab was talking about.
Ahsant.
He's giving, this is the beauty. She says, "Ma ra'aytu illa jamila." I did not see except good. And that's why when people say that God did this or God did that. I remember a sister from another country contacted me and said, "I hate God." And it was back in the days of MSN Messenger.
Oh, wow.
It was
Throwback.
long ago. I was still young at the time. And someone had referred it to me. And she said, "Did I hate God?" I said, "Well, why do you hate God?" She said, "Because God took my son." I said, "So when did your son die?" She said, "My son didn't die." I said, "All right, what do you mean he took him?"
Yep.
And she says, "He's in an orphanage. My parents took my son in orphanage." I said, "But you said God took him." She said, "Yeah, but God allowed my parents to take him." So then I said, "Why did your parents take the child and put in an orphanage?" And she said, "Because he was born out of wedlock." And then she's blaming God because she went and fornicated and had a child out of wedlock,
Yep.
but it's all God's fault. Everything's God's fault. I didn't do anything wrong. I was there. But I'm the one that brought this upon myself. And then I don't know the manner in which your parents, I'm not saying whether what they did is right or wrong, whatever. It's not my point here. The point is something goes wrong. Your parents took the child.
Yep.
This has nothing to do with God. It's like me, for example, beating someone up and then saying God beat him up. You beat him up.
Well, there are philosophies and incidents in history and even Islamic history where that is applied very strongly. It wasn't my fault.
Yeah.
If God didn't want something to happen, He should have stopped it. He should have stopped me, etc., etc.
It is a Ibn Taymiyyah way of thinking that God should be responsible. And I mentioned this a couple of months ago here, where I told you I still have the fatwa I got from my first pilgrimage, where they actually tell you it's haram to wear a seatbelt.
Yeah.
You're preventing God from killing you, and stuff like that. There's these preventative measures that work against God, and God hasn't been able to solve these conundrums. They're real problems, and they haven't come to a conclusion yet with them.
Yeah.
So in this case, this is what Ubaydullah bin Ziyad was trying to say. This is God's doing. God killed Imam.
And remove that sense of personal responsibility from himself or whatever actions he took. He's removed that responsibility from him and say, well, I was only following my destiny and I was only following what had been ordained.
Well, see, this is the thing. When you say that the Imam is Wajhullah, they say this is shirk. He's the face of God, is shirk. He's the hand of God, is shirk. He possesses knowledge of the unseen, they say shirk. All this is shirk. However, if you say that about their king that they follow, they accept this. They say the king is the representative of God. They'll use the Ulul Amr for the king. They'll use that verse that they refuse to use for Ahlul Bayt. They'll use it for their king. So it does apply, but it applies to A'immat al-Kufr, not A'immat al-Huda. Because you have the Imams of disbelief and you have the Imams of guidance, as both are mentioned in the Quran.
Sheikh, when we talk about the beauty that Sayyida Zainab reflected on and saw, let's try and contextualize that for our lives today and how we can bring that into the present. We have, and I'll touch on something that I think might be a little bit controversial or a little bit difficult to discuss or explain, and how the different aspects of our life can be put into the concept of this beauty that you've been mentioning so far. One of those things is the right, for whatever justification or for whatever reason, there are those that look upon Shahada as being beautiful, and more so I'm reflecting on those who commit atrocious acts against innocent people, to say that this is a beautiful act that I'm doing to achieve this supposed shahada and whatnot. And then we have the things that we do in our daily lives, living our daily lives in the reality that we live in the time that we live in, where and how do we find the beauty that Sayyida Zainab was referring to in amongst all of this, in amongst the likes of the Taliban returning to power after 20 years of massacre and struggle and war, where hundreds of thousands of people have lost their lives, not just in Afghanistan, but around the world as a result of this war, and other things that have happened as a domino effect, where we have things like economic crises, where we have things like famine, such as what's happening in Yemen. There's 2 million people currently who are considered to have crossed into starvation today, where we have people who are using their economic or political power to take advantage of those who have none. And I mean that across the board, where we struggle as in any sort of religious capacity to maintain one's faith and maintain one's religion and so on. Where do we find the beauty? How do we find the beauty? What's the path towards achieving that? If it is achievable, if it can be found, if it can be sought and achieved in this context.
There's multiple things.
There's a lot of things, but
multiple things you've mentioned here. The first one, and we'll break them up into.
Please.
The first one you mentioned martyrdom. The second one you mentioned atrocities committed. The third one, the situations in the world in terms of the power, the struggle that ended up being in the favor of the Taliban in Afghanistan, the poverty and the wars and starvation in several nations, especially Yemen. We'll begin first with the martyrdom, as you mentioned. Martyrdom for the martyr is a beautiful thing, but not for everybody else. For those that are victims of this, no one is happy when a family member is killed. You've got to be deranged to be happy and delighted. In fact, if I asked you round now, what do you enjoy more? Hearing 30 believers being killed in a battle and martyred, or victory against the enemy?
victory, of course.
There's no comparison.
Yeah.
Nasrun min Allah. It's this grand victory, it's greater. The beauty is in the action of the Mahdi. They're selfless. They're the most generous of people. They've given their blood for a cause. They're standing up for what's right. They see something's wrong and they don't want to live this life. Imam Hussein alayhi salam didn't want to die, but he was given no alternative. ألا وإن الدعي ابن الدعي قد ركز بين اثنتين بين السلة والذلة. That he's talking about Ubaydullah bin Ziyad has given me an ultimatum between two. An ultimatum, that's it. It's either you fight or you are humiliated, one of the two.
Yep.
You will what's this degrading? He goes humiliation, and then he says hayhat minna dhilla, that we do not associate ourselves. Far from us is humiliation. This isn't something God would accept, nor would His messenger, nor would the believers accept for the Imam to be humiliated. Is he going to be humiliated? No. He will never give allegiance to someone like Yazid. So therefore he is killed. Yet this killing is tragic. But Imam Hussein alayhi salam saw beauty in the martyrdom. He said, كُلَّمَا, every time a martyr fell, ازداد وجه الحسين تلألؤا. The face of Imam Hussein became more luminant. Because his martyrdom was coming closer.
It was approaching. And
this is the beauty.
If Imam Hussein alayhi salam did everything possible that he could until the point of ultimatum, and certainly he wasn't going to give up his righteous path by giving that bay'ah. So he had no alternative but the martyrdom.
That's it. That's all he had.
And it's not that he sought the martyrdom.
No,
the martyrdom
he didn't.
came
In fact,
to him.
He was trying to avoid this because you have to. Protecting your life is paramount.
Yeah.
You know, I saw recently someone giving a talk that people should be lovers of martyrdom. You're not supposed to be a lover of martyrdom. You should be someone that is ready for martyrdom. You know, I don't want to die because I'm supposed to protect my life. But if this is what is in front of me, then yes, I am someone that will love and go in this direction, because if you think I'm someone that deters from it, no, I'm not. I'm not someone that deters from martyrdom. Now, about atrocity.
But you're also not somebody who's actively going out there and seeking martyrdom.
No,
either.
we don't support that
Exactly.
way anyway.
And just to add a bit more context to what I wanted to, the perspective that I wanted to bring to this is those who are seeking martyrdom but for the wrong reasons. They perceive some beauty in that wrongful act.
Well, when you're talking about the people, it's either for God or it's not for God. Now, you might say this person was brainwashed, but they can still, everyone has the ability, and they will have that moment where they can see between right and wrong. There is a moment of clarity that everyone has, but they choose, and they know it too. You in your life, how many incidents have happened and you say, nah, but it's better if I do this, but nah, that feels better. You know? And I know which is right. It's like the atheist, always fighting themselves. They know God exists. And that's why they're always feuding with themselves. That's why they're always so hell-bent on making everyone leave God, because they know God exists. If they didn't know God exists, they would just let it go. They'd go... Yeah.
You don't believe, you want to believe, you believe, but I don't believe, and makes no difference to me if you believe.
But they won't do that. And a good example of that is the story of Nabi Salih alayhi salam. He lived with them for 90 years, not bothering them. But they got angry from him being so righteous. They said, why are you so good? You have to worship our idols. Yeah. You're affecting us. You know, this is, there's different ways where Allah would show where people would be affected by prophets because they couldn't accept someone being so righteous. And this is also the work of the devil. They listen to the devil's whispers. Now, you're talking about atrocities that commit. Where's the beauty in atrocities? Where's the beauty in how much time do we have?
But in amongst, we've got a little bit of time, but in amongst all of these, how do we find the beauty in them? It's not that we want to commit those atrocities.
You actually find the beauty because people see the good moments. The people that are living in these situations see things that you actually see moments and glimpses of beauty where people protect people. I'll give you, in the 2006 war in Lebanon, two examples of where you see. Do you know a lot of the Shia in the south, they fled. Where did they flee?
Where did they flee?
They fled north.
Yeah.
So they were staying amongst Christians and Sunnis.
Yeah.
Were the Christians that you hear, did you hear of any Christians or Sunnis killing the Shia?
No.
No, they took them in.
Yeah.
So they saw beautiful moments from other people. During Daesh, ISIS, when they were killing Christians and Sunnis, they ran to the Shia villages, they ran to Karbala. Did the Shia kill them? No. So they saw the beauty of humanity. People showing you their good side. And in fact, you see some of the things I've seen in those refugee camps. There was a woman, she was in a little shanty. And she's living in a refugee camp in a tent. Yep. And she said, Alhamdulillah, I have space here for the kids. And I was thinking, there are people living in mansions that are upset they haven't got their 17th bathroom. You know, and she's happy about being sitting in a shed, in a tent. This is what I'm saying. People have a realization. They have moments of realization. They see the charitable nature of people. They see people helping one another.
But beauty, like...
It's like the bushfires.
Yeah.
In Australia. Yeah. You see how many people come together. People help people in the bushfire situation. Yeah. People give charity. Obviously, you do have your thieves.
Yeah, that take advantage of people.
They're there. They're there. At a barbecue, there are flies. You know, you have to. It's not all
interesting way to look at it.
It's not all cutlets and stuff. You're gonna and family enjoying themselves. They're gonna be flies there to irritate you. That's the devil. The devil's the lord of the flies. He's the one that's there to irritate you. But the beauty of God is vast. The sun, the playing fields, everything is there. You just got that little thing irritating you. And that's it. So it doesn't matter on the situation that you're in. You see beauty. Even in the middle of war, you see people working together. You see people standing by each other's side. You see things you didn't realize. Like in the lockdown, people starting to know their families. People actually watching their kids grow. Yeah. You're actually enjoying the time with your family. You're seeing each other. You can make it into, you could be an irritable person and make everything into a fight.
Sure.
And you can make your life fun.
Yeah.
But in every situation, if you are someone that always sees things half cup empty, you will always see, in paradise you'll see things half cup empty.
Well,
that's your attitude. No, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
Not in
it won't change.
In a paradise.
Yeah.
I'm not talking about, because you're not going to be someone that goes to paradise if you're a negative person that looks down on everything.
Yeah.
No, but I'm talking if you were given a paradise island here, you'd always see it terrible. You'd always see it in the worst possible vantage point. But if you're someone that always is a half cup full type of person, you could be given, like the man when Imam Sadiq alayhi salam gave him those grapes. He said, Ya Ibn Rasulullah, give me, I'm in need. Imam Sadiq gave him some grapes. He said, I don't need grapes, I need money. And the Imam took the grapes back and told him to go. The man left. The next man came and said, Ya Ibn Rasulullah, give me. The Imam took a bunch of grapes. It was a few grapes, handful, and gave him to him. He held them up towards the sama and said, Oh Allah, what good have I done? So that grapes from the hand of the son of the daughter of Rasulullah are given to me. What is it that I've done so I can get such a blessing? There are people that perceive life like this. And then there are the people that if you give them $1,000, they say, why not two?
If you give them a government grant, why not more?
That's what I'm saying. They always want more. They're always greedy. They always have an idea. Well, Sayyidina Zainab alayhi salam has come after witnessing the worst event happen. The grandson of Rasulullah, Rayhanat Rasulullah. You know what Rayhanat, this is what Rasulullah, this is what do you know when he used to say, he comes to the house of Fatima. He says, whenever I yearned for paradise, I come to see my daughter Fatima.
Wow.
He smells Fatima. He kisses the hands of Fatima. He's around Al-Hasan wa Hussein, always kissing them. This same person is taken in Karbala. He's brought down and Sayyidah Zainab calls out, can you possibly kill this person in the name of Islam? She sees all this and she's taken as a prisoner. She's witnessed everyone massacred. The tents are burned. They're taken as captives. She's only seen the beauty from God. She's only seen what's good from God. She's only seen the favors of God, the blessings of God. And because she's always enjoyed this, she's always enjoyed the favors of God, only seeing the favors of God. In the hereafter, that's all she'll see. Because that's all she's ever seen from God. Beauty, and that's all we've ever seen. How many favors do we see on a daily basis?
They're immeasurable. They're immeasurable, Sheikh.
You can't.
But on that point, on what you've just mentioned, it comes back to contentment and the satisfaction of this experience that Sayyidah Zainab has had, right from birth through to reaching the court in Kufa. It's the contentment with the will of God and whatever He has put her through for her to be able to say that this is the beauty that I've seen.
That's right. But the calamities that befell Ahlul Bayt, we cannot even fathom them.
Not at all. No.
We could look at all the problems people have in this world, the calamities. Honestly, I always tell people, have you ever seen the size of a horse's hoof?
Yeah.
You've seen it?
Yeah.
There were kids that were trampled with these hoofs. That were killed.
Yeah.
She witnessed this.
Yeah.
I mean, that child that went missing. You know, remember
Recently, this week, yeah.
Last week I asked people to do dua and they found him.
Yeah.
See this child.
Yeah.
Did you see that imagery with him in the water, drinking the water? Did you see it? Imagine the thirst. This is what we're talking about. This immense thirst. Sayyidah Zainab witnessed the children crying to drink water.
Yeah.
She witnessed the worst. And then I look at people. What have we seen in our lives? Us. What have we seen? I say, Alhamdulillah.
Relatively nothing. It is.
And not only that, we can ask. You could be having the best life. Who says I can't ask for more? Of course you can.
Of course.
God says, don't ask people, ask me.
Yeah.
You want to whinge? Say you're having a good life, whinge to me.
Yeah.
I want to hear you whinge to me. I don't want you to go whinge to somebody down the road. Come to me. You want more? I'll give you more. Ask. Be grateful and I'll give you more.
Yeah.
And this is the beauty of God.
Yeah.
You don't have to live a terrible life. You don't have to.
But Sheikh, it also doesn't mean that your prayer, your dua will be answered in the way that you want, and the way, in the time that you want, in the way, in how you think it will.
But also, that's not the Hajj. This is the thing. How many people do you know when they ask have the opinion of the hadith that says, and this is another subject altogether.
Yeah.
He says, فَدْعُ وَظُنْ أَنَّ جَوَابَكَ بِالْبَابِ. When you ask God, imagine that it's at the door. It's there. Don't like, for God's sake, don't sit there and think, oh, this is out of God's hands. You've lost the whole concept. Now, when I ask, it's like when people tell me, I went to Imazat Imam Hussein, I asked, I said, you didn't ask. I said, I won't leave. I'm under Qubbat Abu Abdullah Hussein. There's something I really want. There's no way I'll leave till I get it. But you end up going to the shrine of Imam Hussein, honestly, you never ask for anything. You break. When you go in there, I look, it's something that it breaks your back.
Yeah.
And I can't explain it when you actually enter.
Yeah, it's an experience. It's something that you have to
I
experience.
can talk about it here.
Yeah.
It's not going to affect me.
Yeah.
When you actually go there, you don't want anything.
It's strange.
Your
isn't
dream
it?
is there.
It's strange,
Because
isn't
it's
it?
there. I'm here.
You go from
This is my paradise.
You enter from the shrine of Abu Fadl Abbas alayhi salam, and you walk through Bain al-Haramain, and you're walking towards the destination, and you enter that shrine, and you think, what else is there?
There's nothing. But that's what I'm saying. This is what it is, exactly. What else is there?
There is one thing.
What?
To be able to walk back through Bain al-Haramain to the shrine of Abu Fadl, only so that you could walk back to Imam Hussein.
Yeah, Salaam Allah alayhi. This is it. There's nothing. If there was something Hajj, if there was something to ask for other than that, I had a friend of mine, I spoke to him last week. He was going back to Iran. He said, do you want anything? I said, look, when you arrive at the shrine of Imam Rida alayhi salam, I said, I need a dua that you ask that I can come and visit the Imam at the actual shrine. That's all I wanted. There's nothing more. Like someone says, I'm going ziyarah. I said, please, that's all I ask so I can go there. I want to go, Hajj, honestly, just to sit in there, just to be in, this is paradise.
Yeah, absolutely.
There's nothing like, you can't think about it to be able to be of those that are in Ziyat al-Arba'in this year. That you're not going to be one of them. It's too painful. And then all these other people are going. And I'm not talking about my opinion. Every believer that you talk to has the same opinion.
Yeah.
Every believer wants to go ziyarah. You never meet someone that says, oh no, I'm not interested. No, everybody
wants to go. Sheikh,
this is what's amazing.
We for a number of years, some friends and their families and children and whatnot, we planned, I think for 4 or 5 years, at least 3-4 years, that in 2020, Arba'in will be right in the school holidays. We're going to pack up 4, 5, 6, 8 families. I don't remember what it was. We'll pack up everybody, all the children. Doesn't matter how old, how young. We'll pack everybody up. We'll all go, so that the kids from this age, they don't miss out on school. They don't miss out on anything. But yet they have the most incredible experience of their lives. They get to go and be a part of that procession. We're planning and planning and planning. Beginning of 2020, it doesn't matter what you've planned. It's all gone. It's all gone.
Well, the thing is, maybe God wants you to go during school time, to take them, to let them know. Because I know people have gone to Hajj during their school.
Yeah.
Even I've seen people on Hajj even in HSC years, and they've come back. I had a friend of mine that actually went to Hajj in a HSC year.
Yeah.
And he came back, and at the time during TER, he still got an 87 TER. Okay.
Wow.
And he went during Hajj year. During HSC.
That's incredible.
The thing is, because it's Hajj, you go there, you come back, and it wasn't at the time when you do Hajj in 2 weeks. We're talking about we used to do the month and a bit.
Oh my goodness!
And he still managed to get back in there and get the marks.
Yep.
He lives in Iran now. He's been studying for 25 years.
Yep.
He went to study religion, but at the time he went to Hajj. It's not about. It's about giving up everything to go there. I come back, you can always catch up on everything. You might not be able to go ziyarah again. We learnt this the hard way.
Exactly.
2 years.
That's
2 years
so
I went
true.
ziyarah.
That's true.
We might never be able to go. We don't know.
That's true.
You don't know the situation in Iraq is volatile. The situation, the whole Middle East.
Everything's changed. In this time,
Yeah.
everything has changed. And you're right, it's a
Yeah.
matter of safety, it's the ability to travel,
Yeah.
it's so many
Yeah.
factors. It's so many factors, Sheikh. Sheikh, we've had a good run this evening.
Yeah. Went off topic a lot.
But that's the nature of these discussions. We start with something and it develops, it evolves in a conversation, in a discussion. So alhamdulillah, it's been fantastic to have this opportunity with you again, and we sincerely appreciate it. Thank you very much. Inshallah, we will have another program next week. We have the topic already worked out. Inshallah, if you bear with us, we will have that published, inshallah, before the end of the weekend. And it will be an interesting one, inshallah. So please do join us. We have, we have the demise of Sayyid Ruqayya coming up next week as well, and all of our programs and whatnot. And inshallah, we are very much on the path to Arba'een coming to us very, very quickly. I think today marked the second day of Safar already. So things are progressing very, very quickly. Sheikh, if you would conclude this session with dua, and then we'll finish the program with a majlis of Imam Hussein alayhi salam, inshallah.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. اللهم قل لوليك الحجة ابن الحسن صلواتك عليه وعلى آبائه في هذه الساعة وفي كل ساعة وليا وحافظا وقائدا وناصرا ودليلا وعينا حتى تسكنه أرضك طوعا وتمتعه فيها طويلا برحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين. السلام عليك يا أبا عبد الله وعلى الأرواح التي حلت بفنائك. عليك مني سلام الله أبدا ما بقيت وبقي الليل والنهار، ولا جعله الله آخر العهد مني لزيارتكم.
يا رايح تزور حسين، خذ قلبي روح وياي، أريدك تلثم عتابك واذكر شوقي وانت هنا. يا زاير أبو السجاد، أريد أن دمعك تسبه ولا تنسى السهم مسموم ذاك الصوب بقلبه. ألف طعنة ألف ضربة والطعنة على الضربة، وخيل الداست الصدرة داست صدري والله هناك. حسينا وحسينا غريبا وغريبا عظم الله لكم الأجر. Brothers and sisters, the nights of Arba'een are quick approaching. We would like to ask all the Zuwar, everyone attending to that shrine, that holy land of Karbala, take our hearts with you. Send our salams to our Mawla. Imam Ja'far al-Sadiq says, the lovers of Hussein attend the Majlis. Brothers and sisters, tonight we want to enter a Majlis, sit in a Majlis, like how Imam Rida sat down in a Majlis. We want to remember Imam al-Hussein like his grandson did. Imam al-Rida, Imam Rida one day was yearning to hear some poetry on his grandfather, Abu Abdullah. He would turn, there would be a man known to be a poet by the name of Duhbal. He would ask him, oh Duhbal, do you know any lines of poetry? Can you recite some words for us? He says, yes, Ya ibn Rasulullah, I have something that has not been heard by anyone before, and I would like for you to hear it. Ya Imam al-Rida. Imam al-Rida would get up, he would put like a curtain between the men and the women, and he would ask, oh Du'bal, read some poetry. مدارس آيات خلت من تلاوتين ومنزل وحي المغفر العرصات لآل رسول الله بالخيف من منى وبالركن والتعريف والجمرات ديار علي والحسين وجعفر وحمزة والسجاد ذي الثفنات كبور بكوفان وأخرى بتيبة وأخرى بفخ نالها سلوات وأخرى بأرض الجوزجان محلها وأخرى بفخ نالها سلوات إلى أن قال دعب أفاطم لو خلت الحسين مجدلا وقد مات عطشانا بشد فراتي إذا ليلة الخد فاطمه وأجريت دمع العين في الوجنات يا فاطم قومي يا ابنة الخير وانذبي نجوم سماوات بأرض فلات إنا لله وإنا إليه راجعون. Oh Fatima, if only you saw Hussein on the lands of Karbala, as he was martyred thirsty. If you saw this, you would beat your face. Ya Fatima, inna lillahi wa inna ilayhi raji'un. We ask Allah on this night to accept our haja, to heal those, to give shifa to all those in our communities in need of dua. There's been specific requests that we recite dua for someone's situation to better. Let's recite 5 times ayah amma yujib. A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim. Bismillahir rahmanir rahim. Amma yujibu al-muzdarra idha da'a wa yakshifu as-su'. Amma yujibu al-muzdarra idha da'a wa yakshifu as-su'. أما يجيب المضطر إذا دعا ويكشف السوء أما يجيب المضطر إذا دعا ويكشف السوء أما يجيب المضطر إذا دعا ويكشف السوء. There's also been a request for that we recite Fatiha for all the marhumin and marhumat. Specifically, one brother has a cousin who passed away from COVID-19. If we can recite a Fatiha, but before it aloud, salawat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad.
حسين الغريب الغريب الحسين شهيد الشهيد الشهيد الحسين